the nation's commercial capital. This is the News at 10. Live from Channels Television. Reporting tonight, Anne Nwawodo.
Hello and welcome. Tonight, the federal government asks citizens to avoid tomorrow's planned protest against hardship and bad governance as ministers plead for more time for economic policies to take effect. The National Assembly makes a last-ditch effort to avert tomorrow's planned protest. Senate President Godswill Akpabio asks for more time to allow government meet the protesters' demands as the Speaker of the House appeals for dialogue. And lawyer to some of the organizers of the protest, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Ebolu Adegboruwa, appeals to the protesters to reduce the protest to 1 day or a maximum of 3 days. And music icon, Nigeria's legendary singer and actress, Onyeka Onwenu, dies at 72.
On business news tonight, Nigeria's currency in circulation exceeds 4 trillion naira in June, first time in history, according to latest data from the central bank.
On sports, Super Falcons of Nigeria exits from the women's football tournament at the Paris Olympic Games after losing all 3 group games and scoring just 1 goal.
From the nation's capital, Ige Mokwede Foundation holds a session on public service reforms as former President Olusegun Obasanjo believes Nigeria can transform her public service and pave the way for a more prosperous, equitable and well-governed society.
And in international news from London, Hamas says its political leader, Ismail Haniyeh, has been killed in an Israeli attack in the Iranian capital, Tehran.
We begin with a call from the federal government asking citizens to avoid tomorrow's planned protest against hardship and bad governance, asking for more time for economic policies to take effect. At a joint news conference in the nation's capital, Abuja, the Finance Minister, Wale Edu, described the economic challenges as temporary, noting that the policies are in a gestation period. The Secretary to the Government of the Federation also emphasized that the policies aim to address the current economic hardship.
The Secretary to the Government of the Federation, along with the Minister of Information and National Orientation, the Minister of Finance, and their colleagues in Budget and National Planning, are addressing this news conference in Abuja. This news conference is part of the government's efforts to persuade citizens to shun the planned national protest.
Nigeria is work in progress, and in due course, we shall breathe a sigh of relief. We therefore appeal to Nigerians of whatever persuasion to shun cause for protests against hunger by prioritizing peace and progress.
One after the other, the Minister of Finance and the Minister of Information and National Orientation highlight policies targeting the current hardship.
When the hardship of the food prices was being noticed by government, there was an initial move of pushing 42,000 metric tons of assorted grains to all the states of the Federation. This has been completed only recently. Each of the states of the Federation received at least 20 trucks of rice for onward distribution to the most vulnerable members of Nigerian society.
Reform measures that were needed to save the economy, yes, they had led initially to a spike in cost because it's like medicine. You take the medicine and then the effect comes. However, already we are seeing that the benefits are coming. The economy in the first half of this year has grown. Thank you.
The Minister of Solid Minerals joins the appeal to the citizens for patience.
What we need as a nation is to allow these economic reforms and various interventions to mature through the gestation period into reality and Nigeria will never be the same again. Nigeria will be put on a solid economic platform for this and future generations.
It is less than 24 hours to the planned protest. Yet, the government is hoping the citizens will heed the call for patience instead of protesting.
Meanwhile, the Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, is asking police officers to focus on critical issues of preparedness, deployment, and the maintenance of law and order during the planned nationwide protest in the country. In a statement signed by the Force Public Relations Officer, Olumuyiwa Adejobi, the IGP emphasized the importance of maintaining a high level of alertness and professionalism within the force, noting that safety and security of the nation depends on the vigilance, gallantry, and readiness of officers of the police and other security agencies. The IGP at a virtual conference with senior police officers from across the country highlighted the need for continuous preparedness and strategic deployment of police officers to respond to any situation while maximally equipping and getting ready to handle any scenario that may arise. He also emphasized that while peaceful demonstrations are a democratic right, the police must be vigilant to prevent any group from hijacking such events to incite violence, as he has directed that proactive measures must be in place to ensure the peaceful protest does not turn into violent confrontations, as Nigeria cannot afford to record any violence in this period. The IGP also emphasized that while peaceful demonstrations are a democratic right, it will continue to ensure that safety of all citizens is guaranteed. Mr. Egbetokun equally issued a stern warning against the spread of fake news via various social media handles, charging officers to put in necessary placements to manage this and advising members of the public to shun the spread of unverified content on social media, just as he warns against unplanned protests and unnecessary street processions, which can disrupt public order and safety. The Speaker of the House of Representatives, Mr. Abbas Tajuddin, has met with youth groups and organizations as part of efforts to avert the impending nationwide strike. Addressing the groups when he hosted them at the National Assembly in Abuja, the Speaker promised to take all resolutions reached at that meeting to the President. Some ministers were also present, outlining the efforts of the government to address the hardship being experienced by the citizens. Our National Assembly correspondent Terry Ikumi reports.
This is one of the many town halls being held across the country to pacify some Nigerians who intend to protest the increased cost of living in the country from the 1st of August.
The outcomes will be...
With less than 24 hours to the planned nationwide protest, the Speaker of the House of Representatives has convened this meeting with some youth groups and ministers as a last-minute effort to prevent the protest.
While we fully acknowledge and respect the right of Nigerians to a peaceful protest, I seize this opportunity to urge you to embrace the power of dialogue as exemplified by this town hall meeting.
We urge our young people to engage with elected representatives, attend public hearings, participate in town hall meetings such as this, and utilize social media platforms to voice concerns and hold government to account.
The ministers present outline ongoing efforts and future plans by the government to address the current challenges in line with the demands of the protesters.
The Nigeria Youth Investment Fund has been restructured with an allocation of 110 billion naira aimed at providing young entrepreneurs with accessible funding. This initiative seeks to stimulate innovation, create jobs, and to empower young people.
What we have waited for 24 years, at least we can wait for 24 months more to see the results. Even before then, there are very tangible steps. He signed the Minimum Wage Act, and I thank the National Assembly for passing that. And there's so many elements that I can say.
When we took out the subsidies, when the president took out the subsidies, it was with the intention that we were going to build the country of our dreams and that we were going to establish the right macro environment for us to be able to grow the way it was planned. But unfortunately, it didn't go quite as planned.
The Speaker of the House in his address makes a passionate appeal to the youths and promises to extend the discussions from the engagement to the President for implementation.
This town hall offers a platform for frank, respectful, and constructive engagement. I commit to taking the resolutions of this town hall to President Tinubu along with representatives of the youth organizations. Together, we'll ensure that your concerns are addressed and rebuild Nigeria.
Meanwhile, after a closed-door session in the Senate during its emergency sitting, the Senate President appeals to protesters to give the government more time to meet their demands.
1 year is not long enough for the policies being implemented by the current administration. The Senate, and in fact the entire National Assembly, is willing to legislate on all matters that bring about succor to Nigerians in general.
Outside the chamber, Senator and former Labour leader Adams Oshomole has a word for the protesters.
It is not possible for an armed force group, not structured, no clear command structure, no basis for influence. They are not accountable to anyone, to say they are putting the whole country out of business for 10 whole days, peacefully.
With less than 24 hours to the protest, various levels of government are hopeful that their frantic efforts would prevent the planned nationwide protest amid fears of a possible escalation. Terry Ikumi, Channels Television News.
Lawyer to some of the organizers of the protest, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Ebonlu Adeboruwa, has appealed to the protesters to reduce the protest to 1 day or a maximum of 3 days. In a statement sent out to the media, Mr. Adeboruwa also asked the protesters to be orderly and peaceful as they go out tomorrow to protest in different locations already sent to the police. While saluting the courage of the protesters, he calls for engagement with the government on the issues raised for the purpose of addressing the same, asking organizers of the protest to set up different teams to engage with various agents of government for immediate action. In his words, even our forefathers in their graveyards have heard your voices loud and clear. The way and manner in which government has been running helter-skelter since the announcement of the protest show the moral victory of our campaigns and your struggles. The Senior Advocate of Nigeria also warned security agencies against firing of bullets, arbitrary arrest of citizens, and deployment of the military, as he also advised the president on the need to urgently end the wastage by government functionaries arising from their lavish and luxurious lifestyles. The Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, has been explaining the heavy security presence at the Eagle Square in the nation's capital. Mr. Wike explains that security is pertinent to avert any vandalization of government property. He stated this while inspecting projects in the Abaji Area Council. He also maintains that there is no approval for the use of the Eagle Square facility for the protest.
They have all aligned to continue to support Mr. President. We continue to say that what will help our country is discussion. What will help our country is dialogue. What will help our country is for us to sit down and talk. It's not to go carry out a violent protest that at the end of the day will not be of any benefit to all of us Nigerians. So I'm happy that the people of that city, the rural areas, also have aligned that. Give the Mr. President some time. All of us will see the changes. What we are seeing today is a complete revolution, trying to transform our rural areas. I mean, we're also very happy. The Honorable Minister of State, my humble servant, all our people are very happy with what we are seeing in the Saturday towns. Of course, we don't want to take anything for granted. We want to make sure that security is intact. I never approved the use of Eagle Square by anybody. And so maybe that must have informed the security to make sure that all the public areas are well protected. So we don't allow hoodlums to take advantage and begin to vandalize our infrastructure.
In part two, after the break, the Lagos State Police Command anti-bomb deactivates its improvised explosive device in the Ikeja area of the state. We'll bring you details of this and more. Please stay with us.
I tell you, this match 3-0. If I win you, something will come out.
Don't play with me. Fast ball. You know what? You go shot.
Bro.
Now we got this man.
Keep the
banter going. Glow, borrow me credit and data. Dial star 303 hash to borrow airtime or data and pay later.
Is there anything?
Power your relentless ambition with ultra-high-speed data. Glow Unlimited.
Hello, this is Premium Pension. How can we help?
Our experts work behind the scenes, enabling our members grow wealth to secure a premium tomorrow. We see your hard work and we make your money work hard for you. We are growing with you in commitment and service. Leveraging technology to meet your demands. Secure your future and pave way for the next generation. Embracing diversity with firm roots across the 36 states of Nigeria and the FCT. Premium Pension. Active today, premium tomorrow.
Success.
We all want a good life. To do the things that give us the most joy. To reach for the things we want and get them. To move our feet and go where our hearts take us. To become who we've always thought we were. To break free from the ordinary and live life to the fullest. The good life is not a destination, it's a journey. Verve, Africa's premier payment card, is the passport that keeps you moving from good life to good life. Ask your bank for a Verve card today.
Sure you go vote for PDP. Oh yes, PDP. Oh yes, vote Ighodalo. Oh yes, Ighoduam. Oh yes, Mamusabi. Oh yes, integrity. Oh yes, better mama. Oh yes, better papa. Oh yes, better pikin. Oh yes, better Edo. Oh yes, aye. Forward ever Edo. We fast when you walk out. Allow, we know the go back. Vote as we Ogi for Governor 2024.
Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10, reaching you live on Channels Television from Lagos. A reminder of our main stories. The federal government asked citizens to avoid tomorrow's planned protest against hardship and bad governance as ministers plead for more time for economic policies to take effect. The National Assembly makes a last-ditch effort to avert tomorrow's planned protest. Senate President Godswill Akpabio asks for more time to allow government meet the protesters' demands as the Speaker of the House appeals for dialogue. And lawyer to some of the organizers of the protest, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Ebolu Adeboruwa, appeals to the protesters to reduce the protest to 1 day or a maximum of 3 days. And music icon, Nigeria's legendary singer and actress, Onyeka Onwenu, dies at 72. We continue with reactions trailing the nationwide planned protest, and the Federal Capital Territory High Court, Abuja, has restricted protesters in the August 1 protest to the National Stadium. The presiding judge, Justice Sylvanus Orji, issued the order today while delivering ruling on an ex parte application brought before him by the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory. In the ex parte application argued by his counsel, Ogwuonoja, the FCT minister applied for an order of interim injunction restraining the 5 leaders of the protesting groups from gathering or parading themselves along any roadway, street, office, and public premises within the FCT between August the 1st through to the 10th, or any other day thereafter, pending the hearing and determination of the motion on notice. He also applied for another order of interim injunction mandating the security agencies to prevent the protesting leaders from gathering or parading themselves along any roadway, office, or public premises within the FCT from those days pending the hearing of his motion on notice. In his ruling, Justice Orji, who recognized the rights of the protesters to embark on the protest, however, restricted them to the stadium in view of the genuine fear expressed by the minister. Governor Abba Yusuf of Kano State is backing Nigerians who are planning a nationwide protest and vows to receive them at the government house. The governor stated this during a stakeholders meeting at the government house. While the governor is accusing the Nigerian police of disobeying the orders of the government. According to him, they have received intelligence on people who planned to hijack the protest. Our correspondent Sadiq Iliasu reports.
It is a day to the planned nationwide protest, and tension continues to rise. While some groups are in support of the nationwide protest, others believe dialogue is the best option to avoid breakdown of law.
We, the undersigned group, are left with no option but to provide leadership and announce our unflinching support and active role in promoting the proposed August 1st protest against bad governance in Nigeria. Our protest is peaceful and consistent with rights enshrined in the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended.
On behalf of all the people who gathered here, particularly our mothers and sisters, we are not supporting any protest at this critical period of national development and cohesion.
Governor Abba Yusuf, who speaks on the economic hardship in the country, believes Nigerian youth have the right to protest, but urged them to be law-abiding.
Zanga-zanga, inde ta lumana ce.
For us, protest is a democratic right of every citizen. I urge the protesters to carry out their procession with caution, as some criminal elements plan to hijack the protest. If you embark on a peaceful procession, I myself will receive you.
Meanwhile, the governor urges security agencies to stay away from politics, accusing the police of disobeying his orders.
I can't understand why the security agencies, especially the police, will not obey our orders. When we tell them to do this or that, they will tell us that they receive order from above. Who is the above? I am the chief security officer in the state. If you have any problems with that, go and change the Nigerian constitution.
The 16th Emir of Kano, Muhammadu Sunusi II, urged the government to devise ways to reduce the economic hardship.
We must find proper ways to help the needy and ensure what is given to them reaches them.
As the tension builds ahead of the nationwide protest, the call for peaceful demonstration and dialogue remains strong, even as concerns over security and political interference persist. Sadiq Iliasu, Channels Television News.
And more on the planned protest, the Lagos State Governor, Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu, has lent his voice to the planned nationwide protest with a call to organizers to shelve the idea in order to avoid chaos and anarchy in the state, where a peaceful demonstration gets hijacked by faith columnists like it happened during the NSAS protest of 2020.
Peaceful protests are fundamental rights protected by the Constitution in a democracy as ours. But vying to sack an elected government in 10 days by means of protest is alien to our Constitution. To the organizers of a protest, I repeat, while your intentions may be noble, do not substitute your intentions with the motives of other forces. Your gathering is all they perhaps require to perpetrate their own acts. After all, there cannot be a fifth columnist if there were no columns. If your protest gathering becomes a column, then there could indeed be a fifth columnist. I therefore want to appeal to all of you that we should reflect on our past experiences, especially 4 years ago, during the NSAS protests. What then began as a peaceful demonstration, fortunately over days was hijacked by elements with devilish intentions. They unleashed an unprecedented war on our state. We saw the destruction of valuable properties, the disruption of businesses, and sadly the loss of life in several parts of our dear state. These events, we all remember, left deep scars on our state, and it hurts our psyche. The police have confirmed to us that the Ganifa Emi Park and the Peace Park that we all jointly set up are two locations where the police have assured us that they will cover, they will provide all the necessary security arrangements to all of our citizens. I therefore will urge you all to consider the potential precautions of joining a protest that may once again expose us to the fiendish acts of those who do not admire our unity and common compassion for our dear state. Let us not allow our city to be plunged into chaos again.
Ahead of the August 1, 2024 proposed protest, the National Human Rights Commission has called on law enforcement agencies to ensure the protection of rights of protesters and public or private properties. The Executive Secretary of the Commission, Mr. Tony Ojukwu, made this call in Abuja while calling on all parties involved to avoid actions that will undermine the country's democracy. Mr. Ojukwu reiterated the obligations of the federal and state governments to facilitate peaceful assemblies by ensuring full protection of protest assemblies. The Commission believes that through dialogue, respect for human rights and adherence to the rule of law, it is possible to address the grievances of the protesters while maintaining public order.
The National Human Rights Commission urges the federal and state government to uphold the fundamental human rights and fundamental objectives of state policy enshrined in the Constitution of Nigeria. The federal and state government have obligations to facilitate peaceful assemblies by ensuring full protection of protests and assemblies, full protection of protesters and assemblies. Federal and state governments shall ensure that protests are not disrupted by opposing third parties, counter-demonstrators, or hostile forces. Experience in the past has shown that when peaceful protests are going on, other forces come to interfere with these peaceful protests, and the impression is created as if these protests are no longer peaceful. The federal and state governments shall ensure that initial approaches to emerging violence, initial approaches to emerging violence by protesters or counter-protesters does not immediately lead to the use of deadly force and all measures to preserve human lives shall be ensured in accordance with international best practices.
The Explosive Ordnance Department of the Police Force has foiled an improvised explosive device attack right here in Lagos. According to the Commissioner of Police, Lagos State, Adegoke Fayode, the police officer had reported at EOD CBRN base in Ikeja while he was on his way along the Mobolaji Bankantoni Way. He sighted an unregistered white Corolla car that parked on Mobolaji Bankantoni Way, Ikeja, and a young man alighted from that car, carefully dropping a bag by the side of the Nigeria Customs Service Federal Operations Unit fence, returning to the vehicle and zoomed off. Based on this report, a team of EOD CBRN was quickly mobilized to that scene to identify the object and the render same safe. The area was then cordoned off, SOP adopted, IED rendered safe, thereafter taking to a safe distance for detonation, while the residual of the IED was collected for further analysis and investigation. We'll definitely have more for you on the news at 10 in just a moment. When we return, please stay with us. Welcome back. And now to more protests and reactions. Reactions still trailing the August 1 national protest, but protesters are now calling for a 10-day period. Recent reactions are coming from the southern region of the country, as the governors of Cross River, Akwa Ibom Delta, and River State are all appealing to known youths and other Nigerians.
In a collective voice, several southern governors are urging the public to exercise patience and refrain from participating in the planned nationwide protest set to begin tomorrow. They acknowledge the concerns driving the demonstrations, but emphasize the importance of constructive dialogue with the federal government. The governors are also appealing to Nigerians to consider the broader implications of the protest and to work towards peaceful and collaborative solutions. In Cross River State, Governor Basio II, in a state broadcast, called on citizens to reflect on their roles and actions, emphasizing the importance of unity and constructive dialogue.
Let any conceived protest go through due process and within the prism of the law enforcement before, during, and after. Let parents instruct their children in line with the ways and customs of our state. Let the world understand that Cross River State is a heaven of peace and not a hell of hatred.
Moving to River State, Governor Siminalayi Fubara is urging the residents of the state to refrain from participating in the planned protest set to commence tomorrow nationwide. Governor Fubara gave this advice during a meeting with members of the civil society organization at the Government House, Port Harcourt.
We should shelve this protest, and even if we have to do it, we should do it in a way and manner that it would not get out of control. I'm aware of the people that have been hired to come into this state to cause mayhem. If anything happens here, we're going to be the greatest losers.
The Delta State Governor, Sheriff Oboriwori, meets with the presidents of the Christian Association of Nigeria at the Government House, where discussions center on the protest. He maintains that protests will not solve the nation's challenges, considering the outcome of such actions in the past.
We have listened to their cry. I will follow up. We are doing our best, and I also believe that at the center they are also doing their best. So that is not the solution. The solution is for us to be peaceful, to be more united, to focus, to see how we can move the state from the level it is today to a higher level.
In enduring the... Staying in the South-South, representatives of youth groups, members of the organized labor, civil society groups, security chiefs, leaders of the traditional institution and other critical stakeholders attend a crucial meeting called by Akwa Ibom State Governor Umoino, where he harped on the need to maintain continued peace in the state.
To all our youths, our market people, our transporters, to all of us that are leaders in any capacity, I've come here today to appeal to you to let's have a rethink. Let's keep Akwa Ibom safe. We are working hard with the federal government to ensure that the things that are pain points are addressed.
In light of the massive mobilization of thugs,
the Edo State government is not left out as Governor Godwin Obaseki calls on organizers to seek alternative options to derive solutions for all citizens.
I want to use this opportunity to call on the organizers of this protest to consider adopting other forms of protests outside marching and processions on the streets. I'm calling on members of the public to be vigilant and not allow miscreants to hijack the peaceful protests.
The governors remain hopeful that Nigerians will choose peace over protest, trusting that positive change is a possibility through continued dialogue and cooperation.
We have more for you on the news at 10 as we head over to Abuja studios where Terry Ikume is standing by. Hello, Terry. It's good to see you.
Well, it's good to see you as well. And let's turn our attention away from the protests now. Former President Olusegun Obasanjo believes Nigeria can transform its public service and pave the way for a more prosperous, equitable and well-governed society. He made the statement at a national workshop on public sector reforms in Nigeria, organized by the Igi Mokwede Foundation in Abuja. The former president says Nigeria's public service sector can be transformed despite the myriad of challenges hindering its success. Our correspondent Benny Ark reports.
The Igi Mokwede Foundation is driving this discourse on reforming Nigeria's public sector, following the outcome of research on the enablers and inhibitors of a successful public sector in Nigeria. The theme of the workshop is rethinking reforms, why many reforms fail in Nigeria, and what we can do about it. The workshop is attended by former President Olusegun Obasanjo, 7 and former ministers, captain of industries, and critical stakeholders. The chairman of the foundation lays the foundation for the conversation.
Everywhere in the world, it is known that an efficient and motivated public service is critical for the following things: governance, production and distribution of public goods, formulation and implementation of economic policy, and management of public expenditure.
His thoughts on Nigeria's public service opens the door for suggestions on how the reform can work despite the challenges.
Every system has its own inherent challenges, and it is instructive to point out that there are no infallible systems anywhere in the world. Challenges will eventually arise, and so reform is continuous. As the challenges arise, then we need reform action to deal with those challenges.
The public service that we know is a public service that actually did attract the best of minds once upon a time. It did. If you went to the private sector, it was because you were not distinguished. And then suddenly, something distorted that. And the factor that distorted that has been the quality of our politics.
For former President Olusegun Obasanjo, the service is key to Nigeria's prosperity.
Public service contains some of the best men and women in every sense of the word that you can find in this country. The question is that some of them are frustrated. Some of them are inadequately rewarded. And this we have to take note of and correct where we need to correct.
2 panel sessions made up of prominent Nigerians in public and private sector deliberate on the challenges with the reforms and how to address these systemic challenges. For the federal government, the reforms are imperative.
This opportunity that I and Mr. Awai provided for us, it comes at a time when President Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu has boldly stated, let's confront our reality. Sometimes it's risky, it's tough, but we can do it.
Where we are is in the middle of very painful reforms that are necessary, that have been long overdue. And I think the main thing about the reforms of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is that where we are now, you will see slowly but surely the economy is turning around, and with that, it needs to take the society with it.
The consensus here is that the potential of Nigeria's public sector can only be a reality when the reforms are sincerely implemented. Benny Ark, Channels Television News.
Well, that's all from the nation's capital. Back to Anne in Lagos.
Thank you very much, Harry. And to some company news, listed financial institution FCMB Group takes a strategic leap forward as it opens its public offering for subscription in a bold move to align with the central bank's recapitalization directive. The equity plan, designed to reshape FCMB's financial future, offers 15.1 billion shares to raise over 110 billion naira at 7 naira 30 kobo per share. The offer is open to public for a period of 28 business days.
The Nigerian Exchange is host to management and staff of FCMB Group. It's the FCMB Facts Behind the Offer presentation, a highly anticipated event that has drawn a packed audience of investors and industry experts. In response to the Central Bank of Nigeria's recapitalization directive, FCMB Group is rolling out a plan to supercharge its capital base. The group is making a public offering for subscription of over 15 billion ordinary shares of 50 kobo each at 7 naira 30 kobo per share. The group's leadership takes to the stage to share their strategic vision.
What you will find with FCMB Group as a diversified financial services group is that the quality of this diversification is indeed very high and has actually been responsible for powering the very strong performance and resilient performance that you've been seeing in the last few years, in spite of the very, very difficult macroeconomic environment that we're in. We're growing at approximately 2 million customers a year, and we believe that growth rate will accelerate. We have aspirations to move to Tier 1, and this capitalization effort is a key step to getting there.
FCMB has sustained its positive 2023 performance by delivering strong year-on-year profitability growth of 68% in the first half of 2024, with earnings expected to grow by 50% per annum over the next 3 years post-recapitalization. This isn't just about compliance, it's about transformation, and technology is captured.
We're in the process of incorporating a technology holding company. There are 2 businesses that we're incubating currently under a brand name called Rover. One is a cross-border payments platform that will support remittances. It will support outbound and inbound payments into Africa, and it will support this for both SMEs and individuals.
The NGX attests to FCMB's increasing support for digital transactions.
The exchange has made, I think, if I could say so perhaps, since this capital raising started early July, we've been able to bring to life a dream we've always had around digital transformation of our markets, which is really how can I buy FCMB shares on this mobile device in under 2 minutes as we're all seated in this room. And that dream is reality today.
The lead issuing house says FCMB shares is open to everyone.
It's a first step in the overall capital raise. We're looking to do 110 billion in a public offer for new investors. And the public offer mechanism allows new investors existing investors to participate. It's not as closed, unlike other people who are doing rights issues, which are only for existing shareholders. A public offer is for the public. As an opportunity for investors who've been following the name to come in.
With financial inclusion at the core of the bank's strategy, FCMB promises that its transformative capital raise will change lives and change Nigeria.
Let's continue in the world of business. Dominic Iwewe standing by.
Banking so easy, so simple. Dial *894# now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
Thank you, Anne. On business news, Nigeria's currency in circulation has climbed to its highest in history as it rose to 4.05 trillion naira last month, and this is according to latest data from the central bank. The amount represents a 56% year-on-year increase from 2.6 trillion naira level reported in the same period last year. According to the CBN, the CIC comprises the currency outside the banking system and the vault cash of banks, with the month-on-month growth rate by 2% against the 3.65 trillion naira recorded in May. Financial experts attribute the surge in cash circulation to various factors, such as the preference for liquid cash in daily transactions, inflation fears, as well as public distrust in the Nigerian banking system. And now to the stock market, which is still in the negative zone, no thanks to more profit-taking activities by investors. John Mekwa has details of today's trading on the NGX.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Stock Market Report, where we're still continuing in the red zone at the close of the third trading day of this week, the final trading day for the month of July. And we've seen that it's a drop, 0.06% drop to 97,774.22. And then, of course, just about 30 billion naira shaved off the market cap. Well, we do not know if this, of course, is connected to that drum of protests, which has been slated to start on the first day of August. Now, let's look at the sectors. We see banking has regained, thankfully for today. I wonder if it's still the recap there. So we see banking up 0.57%. That's because of FBN holding an impressive result that they released. We are yet to see that of GTCO and UBA, but investors are still cashing in on that. Consumer goods, however, was down 0.76%. Honeywell, Flour, Guinness, PZ, they lost, while oil and gas seems to be retaining the green color these days. Japan Gold again gained today, O&O also. So we see a slight increase. The Fugas, Access, and Zenith, we see they are major market drivers. So we see FBN holding, of course, after that impressive result. UBA also, GTCO, AccessCo, and Zenith, however, is on the flip side up. So even though we have these good numbers from some of the Fugas, it's still the bear at the close of trade.
The U.S. Federal Reserve has left its interest rates unchanged and signaled of upcoming rate cuts in September. Let's see how. To Anne for the rest of the bulletin.
Banking so easy, so simple. Dial *894# now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
Thank you, Dominic. Outside our shores, Palestinian group Hamas has announced the death of its leader, Ismail Haniyeh, in the early hours of today. According to reports, the top leader was assassinated in an airstrike in Tehran while he was attending the inauguration of the new Iranian president. Here's Simon Pizzi with other international news and around the world in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Hamas says its political leader, Ismail Haniyeh, has been killed in an Israeli attack in the Iranian capital. According to Iranian media, an airstrike hit a building for war veterans in Tehran, where Haniyeh was staying at around 2 a.m. Haniyeh was widely considered Hamas's overall leader and played a key role in negotiations aimed at reaching a ceasefire in the Gaza Strip. According to Hamas, Haniyeh was in Tehran to take part in the inauguration ceremony of the new Iranian president, Masoud Pezeshkian, who was sworn in on Tuesday. His death could now delay efforts to bring about a ceasefire in Gaza, as he was critical in the negotiations brokered by Qatar, the US and Egypt. The US Secretary of State, however, stressed the importance in a cessation of fighting.
Nothing takes away from the importance of getting to the ceasefire, which is manifestly in the interests of the hostages and bringing them home. It's manifestly in the interests of Palestinians who are suffering terribly every single day.
Meanwhile, Israel says it has killed a top Hezbollah commander after carrying out an airstrike on a southern suburb of the Lebanese capital, Beirut. The Israeli military says Fuad Shukr, who was a target of an intelligence-based elimination. Hezbollah has not yet confirmed his death, but says Shukr was in a building that was hit at the time. Israeli officials say he was responsible for a rocket attack on the Israeli-occupied Golan Heights on Saturday, which killed 12 people, mostly children. Fresh protests have broken out in the Venezuelan capital, Caracas, after the disputed result of the country's presidential election. Thousands gathered in the city centre to show their opposition to President Nicolas Maduro's claim of victory. Many said they would not stop until there was a new government, and some said this would only be achieved if the security forces joined opposition protesters. However, the military and police have so far remained loyal to Mr. Maduro and have fired tear gas and rubber bullets at some protesters. The death toll from the massive landslides that have hit the southern Indian state of Kerala has now crossed 158, with officials saying more than 220 people are still missing. Rescue workers say they are searching under collapsed roofs and debris of destroyed houses for possible survivors. Thick torrents of mud and water swept through the region, flattening homes and uprooting trees. Heavy rains continue in the area, hampering rescue operations. Kamala Harris has brought her presidential campaign to Georgia, a state that some Democrats now consider up for grabs in the closely contested election. Taking to the stage in Atlanta to a raucous crowd, Ms. Harris said the momentum in the race was shifting. She described her people-powered campaign as the underdog in the race, but pointed to how Mr. Biden carried the state in 2020 and once again challenged Donald Trump to debate her.
I do hope you'll reconsider to meet me on the debate stage, because as the saying goes, if you've got something to say,
Hugh Edwards, once the BBC's most senior news presenter, has pleaded guilty to 3 counts of making indecent images of children. He admitted having 41 indecent images of children which had been sent to him by another man on WhatsApp. They included 7 Category A images, the most serious classification, 2 of which showed a child between about 7 and 9. Until last year, Mr. Edwards was one of the main presenters on BBC News at 10 and often fronted coverage of major national events. And the Paris 2024 triathlons have finally taken place in the Seine after days of uncertainty. The Seine finally passed river water tests, ending days of uncertainty over whether the central Paris swim was viable after rainfall caused a rise in concentrations of infection-causing bacteria like E. coli. The decision to postpone the men's race at the last minute on Tuesday triggered anger among some athletes. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.
Thanks, Simon. Welcome to Sports News. Nigeria's quest to win a medal in the women's football event at the Paris Olympic Games has ended as the Super Falcons of Nigeria lost 3-1 to Japan in their 3rd group game, ending all hopes of progression. This report takes a look at the major event on day 5 at the Games.
Falcons failed to book a spot in the quarter-final after losing to Japan in the group game. The Falcons end their campaign in the women's football event after losing all 3 group games.
That's your Sports News. I'm Kelly. It's back to Anne.
Finally tonight, legendary musician, songwriter and actress Onyeka Onwenu has died at 72. The iconic singer slumped and died yesterday night after performing at an event in Lagos. She was later confirmed dead at a hospital in Victoria Island. Mrs. Onyeka Onwenu was born in 1952 in Obosi, Anambra State, Nigeria. She began her music career in the 1980s and released a debut album, For the Love of You, in 1981. Our thoughts and prayers remain with the family. And the main news again. The federal government asked citizens to avoid tomorrow's planned protest against hardship and bad governance as ministers pleaded for more time for economic policies to take effect. That's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Anne Mwawadu. Good night.